You know, Alex, I spent 3 hours yesterday looking for a specific half-inch socket. Ended up finding it inside the pocket of an old shop coat I hadn't worn since the Bush administration. It's funny how we obsess over these high-tech advancements while our own internal inventory system is basically hope and a prayer.
Based on the state of your toolbox, I'm surprised you didn't find a fossilized sandwich in there too. But hey, it's Wednesday, April 1st, and despite the date, we are keeping things strictly no prank today because the industry news is actually, well, it's pretty heavy duty.
No jokes needed. Real life in the shop is weird enough. Welcome to the TigerDen Daily, everyone. We're digging into some serious Swiss-style precision today, looking at why Missouri is becoming a metalworking mecca and how to stop being shy about your brand.
Let's start with the tech. CamWorks 2026 just dropped their latest update, and everyone is buzzing about Swiss-type functionality. Now, to the uninitiated, that sounds like a fancy way to melt cheese, but I'm guessing you're more excited about the tolerances.
It's a beauty, Alex. Look, traditional CNC turning is like trying to write your name with a pencil while holding it at the very top of the eraser. There's a bit of wiggle there. But Swiss style, it supports the material right at the cutting point. It's like holding that pencil a quarter inch from the lead.
So we're talking medical grade stuff, tiny bone screws, aerospace valves, the kind of things that make my eyes hurt just looking at them.
Exactly. This update makes synchronizing those spindles feel less like a mathematical nightmare and more like a choreographed dance. If you've been sticking to basic furniture or heavy brackets because the small stuff felt too finicky, the floor just leveled up. It's about making those complex, impossible parts feel like a standard Tuesday morning chore.
And it's not just the software growing. Van Am just dropped $1.5 million into an expansion in St. Joseph, Missouri. That's a lot of specialized iron moving into the heartland.
That's a massive vote of confidence for domestic manufacturing. You don't park that kind of capital in a shop unless you've got orders stacked to the ceiling. It's a reminder that while everyone talks about the death of the trades, there's a shop in Missouri that's currently growing so fast it's practically bursting its seams.
Speaking of burst seams, let's talk about the people actually melting that metal. Skills USA is in full swing. This is basically the Olympics for people who don't mind getting burned by flying slag, right?
It's more intense than the Olympics. You've got these kids, 17, 18 years old, laying down beads that would make a 20-year veteran weep with envy. But the real story for the folks listening who are already in the game is that AWS pushed for CWI certification.
The Certified Welding Inspector. Now, I've seen you look at a weld and make a face like you just bit into a lemon. Is that what a CWI does? Just judge people?
It's more than just being a critic with a clipboard. It's about being the person who ensures a bridge doesn't decide to take a nap in the river. It's a tough jump to make, going from under the hood, where you're the one doing the work, to being the authority who signs off on it.
I'm guessing the paycheck reflects that responsibility?
Oh, it definitely changes the math on your mortgage. But more than the money, it's the longevity. My knees aren't getting any younger, Alex. Moving into quality control and leadership keeps you in the industry you love without having to crawl into a 120-degree preheat tank at 4 in the morning. It's the thinking man's metalwork.
So, from the inspection booth to the Forbes list, this feels like a bit of a pivot. Forbes is looking for their top creators of 2026. Tiger, why haven't you nominated yourself? Is it because you still use a flip phone for emergencies?
Hey, that flip phone has a 3-week battery life. But seriously, I think a lot of makers have the shucks. I'm just a woodworker mentality. We treat our shops like hermit caves. We think if we just build a better birdhouse, the world will beat a path to our door.
And the news today is saying, maybe you should build the path yourself?
You have to. If you're sharing your process on Instagram or TikTok, you're not just playing on your phone, you're building brand authority, whether it's a Forbes nomination or just a local collaboration with a steel supplier. You have to be your own loudest advocate. Nobody's going to discover you if you're hiding behind a dust collector.
I think it's that influencer word that scares people. It feels, I don't know, shiny, fake?
It doesn't have to be. Real influence in our world is just showing someone how to troubleshoot a stubborn motor or how to get a mirror finish on walnut. If you've got 1,000 people who trust your advice on glue-ups, you're an influencer. Don't let the term stop you from getting paid what you're worth through brand partnerships.
Okay, let's get our hands dirty again. Jay's been working on that massive Cali decking project. I saw the footage. That thing is large enough to park a small plane on.
It's ambitious. But the thing I want people to catch isn't the scale, it's the material choice. He's using high-end stuff. I've seen so many guys spend 3 weeks of their life building a deck out of the cheapest, wet from the lumberyard wood they can find, only to watch it warp like a potato chip in 6 months.
The do it once, do it right sermon?
Maybe. But it's true. If you're going to spend your weekend sweating over joist hangers and ledger boards, don't let the final 5% of the budget ruin the next 20 years of the project. Using quality composite or properly treated lumber is like buying a high-end blade for your table saw. It hurts once when you pay for it, but it feels great every time you use it.
Speaking of finishing touches, I saw the Finishing the Woodshop series hit the YouTube feed. They're talking about trim? Tiger, it's a shop. Who puts crown molding in a place where people throw sawdust?
I knew you'd say that. I used to think the same way. I worked in a shop for years that was basically a glorified plywood box. But there's a psychological shift that happens when you put up baseboards and trim out the windows.
You think you're more professional because you have fancy corners?
I think you act more professional. When the space looks like a temple of craft, you don't leave piles of scrap in the corner. You keep your tools sharper. You measure 3 times because you don't want to mess up the nice room. It's not about ego. It's about creating an environment that demands your best work.
Fair enough. Although if I see you putting a chandelier over the milling machine, we're having an intervention.
Deal, no chandeliers, maybe just some nice track lighting.
So, what's the big takeaway for a Wednesday? We've covered everything from Swiss spindles to Forbes.
I think the thread connecting all of it is precision transition. Whether you're moving your machining to a Swiss-style setup, moving your career from the torch to the inspector's desk, or moving your shop from garage to studio, it's all about intentionally stepping into a higher gear.
Don't just work harder, work sharper.
Precisely. Stop just being the guy who does the work and start being the person who owns the craft.
Well said. Even if it did come from a guy who lost his socket in a pocket for 20 years.
Hey, that socket is a vintage classic now. It had character.
Thanks for joining us in the TigerDen. Get out there, finish those baseboards, and don't be afraid to put your name on the list.
Take care of your tools, and they'll take care of you. We'll see you tomorrow.